the EOBC complex. So I see progress and I see development. It's wonderful being here.
And let me say congratulations to you too, and welcome back because you've been out on some studies and all of that, and you're back. And congratulations on your achievement.
Yeah, thank you. Thank to everybody. You guys have been support one way or the other. Those who are always on my social media platform. Hey, you can make it. You can make it. Those you can make it were real motivation that pushed me to do my best. And I'm glad that I'm back and I'm willing to get back to my country in whatever way I can.
Okay, Daniel, welcome.
Good morning, Jab. Good morning to the entire LBS team. It's always fascinating to be here and to talk about tax matters and also to be home.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. Okay, so how's the LRA?
Well, the LRA is steady. LRA is progressing. It's moving. Since 2014, it has been working. We are the only government institution that has a mandate with a target to meet every year. All our government ministry and agencies do not have the kind of target that we have to meet, and that is to collect the lawful revenue to ensure that the government functions. So this year we are collecting with a recast budget. We're now collecting around 809 million. So,
809
yeah,
million.
with the recast budget, 809.5 million. So that tells you that we have a tax and we have to do it to the best of our ability to ensure that our country, our government and function, and then Liberia becomes better. So a lot of issues have been measures have been put into place. We've been all affected by COVID for the last 2 years. So we have to put into place some mechanism to ensure that our staff and the taxpayer are saved. So this require at one point in time, can I say, cutting down staff, the number of person that goes to the army building, and most people have to work from home at times to ensure that we meet this demanding mandate that we have to collect the lawful revenue. So those are some of the things we've been doing of late. Here we are.
And so, talking about putting measures in place to ensure that you collect the lawful revenue, it will all go back to the performance. It will also go to the progress you're making in that area, and not forgetting some of those challenges, because when some of these things come up, then the public or policymakers find a solution to that. But let's talk about your revenue performance, the LRA revenue performance, while we also look at some of the key progress that you have made. And like I said, we highlight some of the challenges.
Yeah, I know people always want to know when we say we are the LRA, what are we doing? So the performance has been moving upward, and especially in the last 3 to 4 years, where we have an ambitious Commissioner General who is I'd like to say thank you to him first, Honorable Thomas Dona, and Aaron Colley, Declan Dickens Saki, the Commissioner Darlington Talare, who is responsible, who had that burden on his shoulder to collect the domestic revenue, along with Commissioner Samoa, the Commissioner of Custom. And so over the years, we all have been working, and like I said, revenue is moving up gradually, So, like for example, in 2014, we were able to collect 463.7 million. The next year was 2015, we were able to collect 438.8 million. And then in 2016, we hit 451.6 million. And in 2018, this new administration, we had raised for 2018 456 million. 2019, there was a little bit of slump. We had 435.6 million. But 2020, when COVID-19 came, when it became so difficult, when businesses were facing challenges, when international trade began to dwindle, the LRA was able to collect 483.9 million. And then 2021, just last year, LRA hit 579 million. So this year we have a target to collect 809 million that I talked about earlier. So those are some of the progress we've been making. If before the budget was recast, we were already making progress. Initially, we had 786.5 million to collect as of June 30th. Even though we say have some numbers in the system working in our system to come up, but we had reached about 48.1% of what we were to collect, and that was 378.4 million. So those are some of the numbers that we've been able to achieve, and this goes back to the people of Liberia, the taxpayers, because we wouldn't sit in the office try to implement the law. We wouldn't get those millions if they were not contributing their tax, they were not paying their taxes. So we highly appreciate the taxpayers of the Republic of Liberia. Those are monies that come directly from the taxes they pay every day. So we must appreciate them, and that's why we want to always work with them. Because look, if we don't put these millions together, we wouldn't do anything in this country. Look at the red light road, and drove on coming this way. That's the taxpayers' money working right there. And all of the community roads we have around, those come from taxpayers' pockets, and so we appreciate them, and I think we should do it more.
And the
Jab,
Okay, go ahead.
if I just may buttress, my manager, you see, in the business of tax administration, the numbers can only but go up, and the reason why is there are several interventions and commitments from the LRA to ensure that our domestic resource mobilization strategy is one that is into force, is one that is innovative, is one that is creative, is one that moves most of our tax-paying systems online. So as we speak, there are lots of different forms of digitization that are happening, and modernization at the LRA to ensure that if you were to come to LRA to pay your taxes, you can still sit at your home, whether it's 12 midnight, whether it's 3 a.m., whether you're in Dubai, wherever you are, you can still sit and pay, some taxes online. Some taxes, not all, because it's a digital process and we're moving from one system to another gradually. And as you move on to these systems, what is a system without the users being friendly with it? So you have to conduct awareness, you have to conduct field engagements to make sure that people are adapting to the system. So take, for example, mobile money. Mobile money was launched. A few services, both for the 2 GSM networks we have. Recently, we launched more fees, taxes and fees on Orange Network. I'm talking about over 80 different taxes and fees across 24 different government ministries and agencies. So you can use Orange Money, you go on your mobile money, and you pay over 80 different taxes and fees across over 20 plus government ministries and agencies. Okay. That is just a form of ensuring that you don't have to pay transportation from a very long distance to come to LRA HQ before you be able to pay taxes. Say, for example, the one-stop shop window that's opened at the ministerial complex. You have a host of government ministries and agencies there. So if you want to go pay different kinds of fees, like vehicle registration and these different kinds of fees, you won't have to come to LRA HQ to do that. You can. So we're decentralizing taxation. And that is why even across the tax business offices, people pay these small taxes and fees, and so they don't have to necessarily come to LRA. Say, for example, the issue of tax clearance. Before now, if you had to get a tax clearance, I was speaking with the manager, he told me, before I joined LRA, people had to make a long queue outside the building, in the yard, almost outside where cars park, because they were queuing up to get tax clearance. And why is it important? Because before you get any major contract from government or from any serious international organization, one of the key requirements is a tax clearance to show that you're tax compliant in your country.
Okay.
So now people can file for their tax clearances online. You don't have to come to HQ. You file online, you submit all of your documentation online, we reply you online and send you your e-tax clearance. You print from your office, or you can send to whoever you're sending to for whatever contract or whatever purpose you need it for. Just ensure that, of course, you have to be tax compliant. So these kinds of different interventions, say for example, large and medium taxpayers now can only file their taxes online. So these big concessions, these middle income businesses, they do not have to come to our HQ to be able to file their taxes. Now, when you do that, you save them time. You ensure that they stay at their business places and make sure that their business, their sales are performing. Because the overriding or the overturning effect is that when they have more eye on their businesses and they generate more money, they pay more in taxes. And when they pay more in taxes, what happens is the revenue numbers will continue to go up because we're easing tax payment for them. We're making it convenient for them. So they're taking advantage of it to pay taxes. Trust me, I sat in an office of a large taxpayer. And after an interview, he said, I don't have to come to your HQ to pay tax. I'm filing over $300,000 in taxes right now. And you guys can sit there and watch me do the live system. And that was quite interesting because in other jurisdictions, in other countries, people do this with ease. They do it seamlessly. And why can't we do it here?
And that's why, we see all of the numbers, like you said, going up according to the stats that Kaine just produced. But yet, all of this, we know they will come with some need for improvements in some areas. And we look at that as the challenges that you might face, and you want to see these improvements. Probably you will need the cooperation from the public to have such improvement, or from policymakers. What are these challenges that we can count?
Well, there will be challenges.
Definitely.
With the introductions of the new systems of payment, that for example, going online, you first need to create the necessary awareness, and that is a hurdle in a society where you also have people who may not have the idea to do it that way. So providing knowledge, providing education and training for taxpayer is something that we have done, and we need to continue to do to places that we haven't reached or individuals we haven't gotten to. And when you introduce a new system, people are used to the old system. That migration time, process, and period is also a challenge in the process, but people are seamlessly moving towards the new
Are you
system.
changing so fast that more people are leaving behind?
No, people, we bring everybody on board.
Okay.
So, that the gap, whether people are living behind, cannot be seen to the extent as to where, because we're not just going automatically. We're doing it gradually. So we introduce it to the smaller taxpayer, the large taxpayer, and then we bring everybody on board. But there are other challenges such as in collecting revenue, smuggling, people want to dodge tax payment. That is something that happens almost all of the places.
How does this happen? Give us a case. How such a thing, when you talk about smuggling and tax payment, how do people carry out these things that you notice and this is fraud?
Okay, Jack went to Guinea. Our borders are so porous.
Okay.
And he got a vehicle. He tried to bring the vehicle in the country, but he doesn't want to pass through Ganta border or Logatua border. Maybe he finds
Where
some-
tax is supposed to be paid.
Yeah. Then so you had some kind of roads or border that have been opened by some people or in a particular community, and they try to pass through that side instead of coming to the main side. That could be one, and not just vehicle, but it could be any other goods that being passed through the process. Some people also maybe use the same main border, but they don't want to conceal. They try to conceal whatever goods or commodity they are bringing in a country. So that's the kind of smuggling behavior. We've been able to impound vehicles, trucks, trailers coming, where people did not declare a particular kind of good that was being brought in the country. And that an act of smuggling, and that also undermines revenue collection. So with the porousness of our borders, trying to work with the joint security, the immigration and other people, the police will also help to curtail some of these things. Yeah.
And what I wanted to add is the fact that, like the manager rightly said, just recently, the LRA had 4 officers of our ASIU unit. ASIU is Anti-Smuggling Intelligence Unit. That have been deployed at the Salala checkpoint. And the reason is when you're coming from that side, even if you smuggle through the border, Salala checkpoint is a place that has no alternative route.
One way.
Yes, it's a one way in, one way out.
Wow.
So, just recently, a couple of ASIU officers were assigned there, and the reason is to curtail smuggling. Now, anti-smuggling intelligence unit, they are meant to be there to checkmate goods that are coming in, vehicles that are coming in for sale, and different kinds of things. Because hey, Jab, until I started working at LRA, I never knew how much people were creating unfair market competition for others in our commerce. For example, the technophones you buy, or we all buy, you notice that people will bring in technophones in huge cartoons. And that is why you see, for example, when a new version comes at a higher cost, it takes 2 to 3 weeks to instantly drop. Because others will smuggle theirs in, sell at a lower price. The man who pays the fair taxes will have to drop his price because people will start buying from him. And this is the and these are Liberians doing it to Liberians. So this is the kind of unfair market competition that we're facing at the LRA, and that is why the training of anti-smuggling officers, customs officers, as part of the customs security program, these are the reasons why these people are being trained. These are the reasons why, up to date, we have over 153 custom officers that have been trained in basic police science training, skills, tactics, to be able to curtail some of these issues of smuggling. We cannot have officers at all of the border points because there are several porous border points. But for example, putting officers at the Salala checkpoint, for example, is a one-stop shop. Wherever you smuggle from, once you're using that route, that is the only alternative, that is the only route you will use when you get to Bond County and passing through Bond County to hit Monrovia. So we're being strategic, we're being smart about it so that we ensure that, because we have challenges at the LRA. We're doing digitization in Monrovia, for example. But what about the counties?
Okay.
You know, in the counties, people
I
are
was
more
about to go there.
towards mobile money. In the counties, people are more towards mobile money. And even with the mobile money service, some places where the network, is not available, they have to physically get on bike or walk to the tax business office to be able to pay the taxes. So yes, challenges are still there. Can we do better? Yes. Are we where we want to be? No. But we are at a very important and critical point in our, in our revenue collection that if we don't put all efforts on deck, if Liberians don't be honest to what they declare, one of the key challenges at the LRA is people, Liberians, foreign businesses, people are under declaring. So for example,
say less than what they brought.
definitely, people come, they under declare, and at the end of the day, they sell higher to the consumers, make more profit. We lose revenue. People get substandard, products at the end of the day, and it's a win for them and it's a loss for the country.
Okay.
So when people need to be honest about what they do, because that sort of honesty is what pays salaries. That sort of honesty is what contributes to hospital development, education. So these small packets of dishonesty that we do and we think is nothing, these are things that turn around and become, something that affects the country in a negative way.
And we're still talking about this honesty and still talking about smuggling and the moves that the LRA is making to curtail these things. Now, talking about training of the custom officers, I know, you train them class by class. Recently, in fact, there was another round of graduates, but how many do we have to date that have been through this training? And is it the training that you signed the memorandum of understanding with the Justice Ministry?
Okay, so putting it in context, the custom security program is a sort of program, and the training of custom officers is just one component of the entire program. The custom security program is meant to ensure that our customs officers go beyond sitting behind the decks. They are trained in basic police training, tactical training, weapon handling, and here is why. Our assistant commissioner for customs was just recently on a trip. Customs officers carry AK-47s in other countries. You know why? Because you're not going to stop a truck that's carrying contraband or other harmful substances. These people sometimes even carry arms with them to protect the illegal work that they're doing. So custom officers have got to be tactically trained, basic police science training, how to handle weapons, to be able to match what they're going to meet in the field. So as part of the custom security program, the class 1 was trained, class 2, class 3, so we have up to date about 153 custom officers that have been trained in basic police science training. Now the signing of the MOU with the Ministry of Justice takes it one step further. Now that they're into basic police science training, now that they've understood the tactics at a basic level, the next phase is giving them military training.
Okay.
So those officers that have already been trained in basic police science training are the ones that will be selected, not the whole batch. They will be done in phases. So those are the ones that will be selected to move to the next phase of military training, weapon handling, and some of what I cannot mention for security reasons. So those are at the level of the Ministry of Justice is gone one step further to ensure that they are tactically trained, they understand the nuances of the custom security program, and mind you, this is also in consonance with treaties and agreements that we have with the World Customs Organization, the World Trade Organization, because at that level, we're supposed to move and upgrade how we man the commerce of our country. And a huge chunk of our commerce is through customs, importation, and importation mainly. I mean, most of what we use is imported. I mean, a good chunk, I don't want to give a percentage because it will not be fact-based, but I know more than 60-70% of what we use here is imported in the country. And custom officers are there to, on a day-to-day basis, track everything that comes into the commerce of the country. That is an extremely huge tax. And that is why LRA, we may see it as baby steps, but these are steps that over the next 3 to 5 years, when we have more than 300 to 500 custom officers that are being trained in basic police science training, that are being transitioned to military training, and when these people are assigned a key bullet points, trust me, the turnaround will be huge. Just recently, just 2 weeks ago, our ASIU and custom officers were able to track down and confiscate refrigerant gas that is used for car air condition, freezers. Here's what happened. What was stipulated on the container as the gas was a different kind of gas within the container. It had to be taken to EPA for testing, and after it was realized that that level of gas is not being used anymore for car air condition. That means people who will not know, and once it gets into the commerce, and you go and refill your car air condition, you're automatically going to get sick as a result of inhaling that sort of refrigerant gas that is no longer, the right kind of quality gas to use for car air condition. And we turn them over, we seize them and EPA tested them, we turn them over to EPA for disposal. So those are the kind of challenges we face on a daily basis, and that is why the custom security program is quite key in transforming. Mind you, these custom officers are becoming as part of the security arena as military personnel, because with that kind of training, they're military personnel. They at some point will carry arms. At some point, they will be there to beef up the immigration, the police, and in some cases the armed forces at different points.
Okay, that's Daniel.
So yeah, I mean, like Daniel has clearly stated, those are part of the package of the modernization of tax administration in Liberia. With people getting more sophisticated, I mean, criminals, smugglers getting more sophisticated, we too have to train our custom officer to be more sophisticated, to be able to detect unwholesome goods for the country, products that do not mean well for us as people. So that is why we're collaborating with the EPA, even Commerce Ministry for inspection of the kind of product of food that comes into the commerce, to ensure that our people are safe. So we're not just looking about collecting money, we're also looking at the security of the people, security of the consumer, security of the state. Because when you talk about the car condition of the wrong gas, if it could be any government official's car, it could be anybody who is selling red light, riding in a car, and it could get affected. And you know what I mean? When one citizen who is paying a tax in this country die, we're minusing the, the amount of revenue we're supposed to collect. So we want everybody to be safe. So those are some of the things to identify chemicals, drugs, fake goods, and then under declaration and every other thing. So those are part of the package that we try to work on to ensure that we have more revenue, more development, and a better Liberia.
Danishas Kaine Singwe is the Manager, Communications, Media, and Public Affairs at the Liberia Revenue Authority. We also have as guest on this first segment of the program, Daniel Ankra, Senior Communications Officer, also at the LRA. And we are talking about the LRA on this morning's edition of the program. On the first segment, we looking at the digitizing of the tax collection system there, and also custom security program modernization. Just listen to all of what they've been explaining. You have more to tell us, but if you want to be a part of the program, you want to you want to just ask questions, or you have some recommendations or comments, 077-835-862, or 0886-616-5880. Call any of those numbers, then you will be live here on the program. The NRA, was recently involved in the enrollment of smallholder rubber farmers, and also you try to move members of the military to the tax net. When I heard about this, I wonder whether the military personnel haven't been paying tax.
So let's put it in context. The LRA, as a government institution responsible for tax administration, the revenue code allows the LRA to be flexible in a way that it collaborates with other government institutions to ensure that revenue is collected, and there's a form of data sharing. So we have partnership with the NHA, the Housing Authority, in different government institutions. So with the military, we went there to firstly raise awareness with them, because here's the thing: when they take their salaries, 10% of their salaries is withheld as withholding tax. Up to date, some of them do not know why 10% of their salary is taken away. Sometimes people raise issues, not necessarily because they want to, but because they do not know, or they don't have the requisite information.
Is this 10% only concerned with the military, or
No, this is 10% withholding across government.
Across
even
Including
across the country, no matter where you work.
Okay.
As long as your institution is captured in the tax net, radio stations are involved. Once you're an institution in Liberia and you register, 10% of the salary of the employees obviously goes to as withholding tax.
Okay.
So that's clear. So some of them do not know. Some people take pay. Some may be shy to come out and say it, maybe because of their military code and all of that. So, and besides, some of them are building houses. They have to pay reappropriated taxes. They may not know the processes and procedures. They're busy with guarding and manning our country and carrying on the military tactics and codes that are related with the work that they do. So we decided to take the awareness to them. Thankfully, the Minister of Defense, the Honorable Chief of Staff have been very collaborative in ensuring that this happened. Our Commissioner for Taxpayer Services, our Manager for Taxpayer Education, carried out that training. And trust me, we had over 60 to 70 to almost 100 military personnel that were seated. And when we started to tell them what personal income tax is, how they can pay their real property taxes, and the effect it brings to them, they were excited. Most of them, up to that point, did not know that they had to pay taxes, or that they were even paying taxes that they did not know that they were paying taxes, to begin with. And they couldn't beat on their chest to say, I'm a taxpayer, because they did not know that, they were withholding from them being paid and all those kinds of things. So yes, that awareness is continuing. And interestingly, After the first week of awareness, they even suggested to us that we should take the awareness to all of their barracks across the country. So that is a plan that is being developed and will be rolled out subsequently to take tax education and awareness to all of the different military barracks across the country. And this is to give them, and this for not just for them, but they and their families. So now they know, they spread the word to their families, and their families are encouraged to pay taxes. So the issue with the
before you go,
yeah, go ahead.
before Daniel goes to the next
Yes.
point, I think it is our responsibility to inform everybody about the taxes they pay and how they should pay them. This kind of education and awareness have been taken to schools and university. The teachers were like, "Hey, why are they deducting? This from our salary?" And so we have to go there to provide. Schools invited us. Organizations have invited us before. And we ourselves have gone to schools and other institutions to provide this kind of education to them, to make them understand that, yes, this is how it goes, so that they can, because some of them will want to protest. They are cutting money from our salary. We don't know where those monies are going. So it is our responsibility to create that kind of awareness. And then they can talk about the smallholder stuff.
So recently, just last week, and before I talk about that, let me say that in the process of taxation, we ourselves as tax agents and foot soldiers, sometimes we get affected in the process. Thankfully, our team that was headed to Banga last week had a very major accident, but we thank God that there was no major casualty. All of the guys, in fact, have returned to Monrovia, and are seeking undergoing medication. To the issue with the smallholder rubber farmers, do you know that the smallholder rubber farmers themselves came to the LRA and said, we are over 50,000 across the country, smallholder rubber farmers, just as we have what we call underground artists. So we have a lot of smallholder rubber farmers. They sell to the bigger companies, and the bigger companies are the ones that pay taxes. And so when issues arise, when grants come from institutions like the World Bank, the IMF, or the Ministry of Agriculture for smallholder rubber farmers, most times it goes through the bigger players in the sector. Now, they feel that they have not adequately benefited, even though they know that they are paying taxes. So here is what they asked for: that they be enrolled on the tax net, that LRA captures their different cooperatives and individual rubber farmers and smallholder rubber farmers into the system. That way, they too can directly come to the LRA and apply for a tax clearance for being tax compliant, and apply for a grant, or apply for, if the government pulls out $10 million to help smallholder rubber farmers, they can directly apply and get, and be vetted. And if they're vetted and the vetting proves that they're qualified to receive such grant, they get it. So they pushed for this, and our Commissioner for Taxes was more than excited, to grant this opportunity. So the MOU was signed. Fast forward, last week, there was the official launch of this exercise, where over 1,500 rubber farmers were present for the launch. After the launch, immediately after the launch, the team set up and they started registering them, giving them the tax identification numbers on spot. So this registration continued from Banga to Nimba to Margibi, and then the team returned. Eventually, the team will go to other counties in small pockets and register more smallholder rubber farmers. Now, the catch is that, one, you have more people coming onto the tax net. Two, we encourage them, and as we're registering them, we're raising awareness with them. So we have what we call the tax clinic for new businesses, for new individuals coming onto the tax net. We educate you on tax payment processes, what you can do manually, what you can do online, and what you can do both ways. So the education is going along with the registration. So when that happens, they're enrolled, they're tax compliant, and when opportunities come, they have the ability not to, through another big player in the sector, but directly apply for a grant or apply for an opportunity that will benefit them. Because mind you, without these smallholder rubber farmers, trust me, most of the big players will not be able to produce the kind of latex that they produce as a result of the work that comes from these smallholder rubber farmers. So that is what has happened. We are excited about it, And that's how we want Liberians to see tax payments, something you can go for, and we will give you every piece of information, and we will guide you. Nobody will take money from you. We will guide you through the process to ensure that, because every dollar that comes through tax administration system goes to, obviously, the revenue account for national growth and development.
Let's talk a little bit before we start to take the course about this SS stamp and this
The excess stamp.
UFD
The
device.
EFD.
Sorry, it's the EFD.
Yeah, the EFD.
Okay.
So, you know, just in a nutshell, the excise stamp is, so people pay excise taxes. Excise taxes are taxes that are paid on goods that are deemed harmful, you know, certain kinds of goods that are deemed harmful to the population, like alcohol, for example, like cigarettes. So they are not the regular taxes. So the excise stamp was introduced to avoid or to reduce smuggling, for example, to reduce unfair market competition. So as we speak, for example, Moravia Club breweries, so you have to, it's $25 per stamp for one stamp. It's placed at the opening of the bottle or at the cigarette pack. So what happens is, when you, the consumer, when you
25 Liberian.
dollars
Okay.
for one stamp.
For one stamp.
So, for example, a company like Moravia Club Breweries will buy 100,000 stamps because they're, you know, huge importers, you know. So they buy all these stamps and affix it at the opening of the product. When you, the consumer, buy that product through a retailer and you see the stamp on it, it indicates that the importer or the manufacturer paid the rightful levy or tax on that product. Now, this is a process that is rolling out slowly because, I mean, to cover all the, you know, we're beginning with only alcohol and cigarette. Eventually, it will roll out to other substances. But with alcohol, and so this is so, at some places now, you will see that when you go to buy, you will see that excise stamp affixed to the opening of the bottle. Now, the intent, you know, with the LRA seal and logo and everything on it, and there are security features that our enforcers can just use an app. And when they scan it, they know they know it's original and they know that the rightful tax was paid. You know, and more to that, it also helps to eliminate the fact that you will buy rightfully with the stamp 100,000 bottles of stout to sell. Another man smuggles in 200,000 bottles of stout and sells cheaper, puts you out of business, you pay the rightful tax, he doesn't, and he benefits more. Unfair market competition reduces smuggling, increases revenue. So that is the whole intent, you know, of the affixation of the excise stamp onto alcoholic products or beverages and that of cigarette.
So what we have to also do in that is to, as part of what is ongoing, to create awareness like this for the public to know. So you go and buy a beer and you see the excise stamp on it from the LRA, and then you buy that same beer to another place and you don't see it, then that should be able to raise a kind of concern to you that, yeah, this person doesn't seem to be paying taxes to the Republic of Liberia. And if that person doesn't pay taxes to the country, then they affect you directly or indirectly. Because the more taxes we get, the more opportunity the government has to spend to carry on development projects. So so those are some of the modernization initiatives.
And I want you guys to comment on this
EFD, right?
The EFD, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, just in 1.5 minutes, the EFD. EFD is the electronic fiscal device.
Okay.
And in our context, we have 3 different kinds of devices. They are all called the EFDs, but they are specific to your type of business. That's if you're large, medium, or small taxpayer. You know, so the devices, will be assigned to you based on your category. And yes, why? Because if you're a business that do not have constant electricity, there's one that is rechargeable that can be assigned to your system. If you have already a set up system like hotels, we just attach a POS device that monitors and tracks your sales. The intent of the EFD, we've noticed that over the time people have been under-declaring, hugely, grossly. And as a result of this, I can tell you, because I watched the numbers live, I can tell you that when these devices are installed at your business, attached to your system, and every time you transact and print a receipt, it registers live in our system. So internet is connected to the system. So as you're transacting, as you're putting in data, we're seeing it from our office that somebody has just bought 1 bag of Pampers and 2 big needle milk from the supermarket, and you printed a receipt for them. That is why we encourage, whenever you go to a place that the EFD is used, you have to request a receipt. That is why if you go to certain places, and I can mention a few of them, Terracotta, Sam Barbecue, when you go to Sam Barbecue, for example, you will see on the wall, you see EFD is used here. Whenever you see that sign at a business, know that as the taxpayer or as the consumer, we encourage you, please ask for your receipt, because the only way it fully registers to us that the GST or what other tax kind was taken from that or was subtracted from that sale is when the receipt is printed through our machine. That is why our machine, called the EFD, is attached to their system. So whenever they print a receipt and give to you,
Okay.
we see it live that the rifle 10%, 5%, 2%, 1% was deducted from that particular sale transaction. So the EFD is meant to increase revenue. Do you know that some very big businesses that name I will not mention, but if I even were to do so, you will be shocked. We're reporting like $5,000, $3,000, $2,000 for a whole month. When the EFD was installed at that very entity, they were reporting up to $7,000 to $8,000 a day.
Not month.
Not a month, a day. As opposed to reporting $5,000 a month, they were reporting over $6,000 to $7,000 a day from transactions.
How is this installed? You the LRA, will go there and install it on your own, or it should be an agreement between you.
So
and the
what
business?
happens? What happens briefly before we take us is that we'll put them in categories. So large, medium, small. So we started with the large, and we're still rolling out and then to medium to small businesses. So we come to you and we install it. There's a minimum fee.
No cost to the business.
1 minute. There's a minimum fee you have to pay, but that fee is taken from you over time when you file your tax, liabilities. When you file your tax liabilities, it's subtracted from wherever the cost of the device is subtracted from the taxes that you're supposed to pay. So it's still at an advantage, to you, the taxpayer. But one thing it does is it squares us and it ensures that we know what you're doing. And mind you, even you the business person, eventually under our new tax administration system, the ITAS, you'll be able to also monitor your own sales even if you're not in the country. So that you have an app on your phone that tell you that John in the store made a sale of $1,000 today. We can see it, you can see it. But with the EFD, it allows us to track your system on a minute by minute basis. So in cases where there's no power or there's no electricity, for certain kind of businesses, the device can charge for up to a week. So even if power went off, it shouldn't be an excuse to pay taxes. And the rightful taxes for that matter.
Okay, so let's start taking your calls and let's start interacting with the public. 0-777-835-862. You can call that number. You can also call us on 0-886-616-580. Let's hear from this person. Good morning.
Good morning,
Welcome.
and let me say good morning to Daniel Ankara and colleagues.
Okay.
My name is Mark Doko, and I call from my Dubai resident.
Okay.
Well, listen to Ankara and Spoli. I'd like to appreciate them for the excellent presentation and the awareness they keep giving us as Liberians.
Okay.
But my concern has got to do with this tax issue, most especially those who in the hard-to-reach area. And he made mention about the network system. At times, people leave from far area, the villages to villages, just to make transaction. So I would suggest to the LRA that they work in accordance with the LTA, the Liberian Telecommunication Authority, and that of the GSM company to provide these network towers to this hard-to-reach area. Because, mind you, it is this revenue that the LRA will collect that will have to go to government national fund and the budget. That
Okay.
would be distributed equitably to the land ministry and agency, and civil salary will begin to take pay.
Okay.
And to the issue about the essence tax, I can recall sometime buying a bottle of beer and I saw a stamp from LRA, and I think it's important that the LRA institute this measure, because in other countries, whatever thing you buy, you have a value-added tax on it, the VAT. But in Liberia, people are trying to evade tax. So if the LRA can be robust in this thing, especially alcohol, people consume alcohol most especially in the country. So the LRA should be robust to put this excess tax stamp on all of these beverages. I would appreciate that. Thank you, and Daniel, and keep doing the work you do.
Okay, let's hear from another person. Good morning.
Yes, good morning, Charles, and good morning to your studio guest. I'm Lieutenant Ola call from Cedar Vicano this morning.
Okay.
Okay, I want to get my contribution. I want to hear those officials in your studio on the days of collecting tax, and they have a huge tax to perform at this point in time. Well, let me just give my own point. Maybe they will buy or leave it. I think if we are to raise taxes to high extent, I want them to take into consideration that they can pass through a legislation in which everybody will be able to pay a real estate tax. And if that is done, in terms of any eventuality, like a natural disaster, wind blown or fire, these people who are paying taxes should be able to get a cut back payment to relocate or rebuild their places. That will encourage some of us that having properties to be able to pay taxes. But if we pay real estate tax, and then when our properties are destroyed by fire or by wind, the government turn their back to us. How do we continue to pay taxes? I think they should take into consideration this point here.
Okay.
I pay my tax every month, way back when I faced natural disaster.
Okay.
It's all push up on a percentage.
Okay.
So pay tax will be encouraged. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Another person is here. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome.
My name is Rufus Gogolati Chid. I'm calling you from Electoral District 10 Montserrat County this morning.
Make your point.
I want to know from the chief in studio, talking about the issue about the custom officers that have trained from the police academy. The first phase of the training has been completed. But now you're talking about, what confuses me is that you're talking about the second training should be done at the military, barrack, or whatsoever training base they have. They said it's not necessary. That since they are now a military person, and he kept calling them military, the military is considered to be a military person. What if it would be necessary that they do the balance training at the police academy? They have professional people, even the police officers themselves, do all their firearms training at the police academy, and they are certified firearm carrier. What
Okay.
is it that they cannot do it at the police academy, then rather to the military hospital, to the military barrack?
Okay.
It sounds confusing for me, and the need given to them. There should be a specific need for those guys who come from the LRA that will be certified firearm carrier.
Okay, thank you. Let's take another person. Hello? Okay, that person left the line. You people would like to address
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
first batch of concerns.
That, but let me begin with the last caller. So point of correction. I call them security personnel, not military personnel to begin with. Secondly, on the issue of going back, so this thing that Donny faces, we have an MOU with the Police Training Academy, the Liberia National Police Training Academy, and that MOU has meets and bounds. And that MOU allows us, the police training facility, to provide us with the technical assistance in terms of providing the rightful kind of instructors that will teach and train our customs officers in basic police science training. It ends there. There's a difference between basic police science training and that of military training. And mind you, they're not getting to get military training. You know what it takes. It doesn't take you even a year to get military training. We were talking about one to 3 months of training, maximum 3 months of training. So, and for the purpose of of the security implications, I cannot go further to say what kind of training the custom personnel will experience, with the military. But I can tell you that it is an upgrade to what they've already learned at the police. And mind you, the fourth batch of custom officers are already gearing up to begin the training at the Police Training Academy. So the Police Training Academy, they will continue to train custom officers, until we have sufficient enough to man all of our border points. So let's get that one clear.
Okay, another caller was concerned about real estate tax and maybe coming to them as a rescue when they pay all of these taxes, and at the end of the day there is natural disaster. These same taxes be used to, compensate them. One caller is concerned about that. I don't know what's the relationship with the LRA and the disaster management about that one.
Well, I mean, I think that's a good proposal that comes from a citizen. I hope a taxpayer, because we at the LRA don't make laws. What we do, we implement laws. We implement policy. Yes, we can make suggestions, but we wouldn't be the one who will make the final decision. It's something that has to do with the country, and part of that direction is when we're looking at the revenue sharing scheme that is being discussed. I mean, so that what people collect from the community, from the county, could go, some percentage of that could go back to the county administration to be used for the county. So that could be one of the ways we can work around it. But I know when these discussions, most of the law we have existing were not there from the beginning. Those were things that came up as society began to change and new dynamics, begin to interplay. So some of these things can be taken. That's why we have, normally when we have these discussions, we take these FAQ and important points, and we can look at it in our policy discussions and other things to see how possible some of these things can be. And we can pass it over to the appropriate authorities to take the kind of action that are needed to be taken.
Okay.
So sorry. Let me just purchase what my manager just said, and on the issue of looking for legislation for real estate tax, so to help renovate with disaster management. See, here's the thing. One person may be a honest taxpayer, another person will not be. Because here is the thing. We're talking about moving to billions. We're not going to get to billions if the tax net is around 40,000 persons. And even of that number, 40 to 50,000, even of that number, a little over half of that number are really the ones paying. Others can pay so others can enjoy. When we travel other places, a huge chunk of the people pay for us to enjoy the facilities we enjoy. So for us to have our money spread across all the different government agencies for these kinds of responses, we must honestly pay our taxes and real property taxes for that matter. Then we can be able to request. So people think that government should do before they pay tax. It's rather the reverse. When we pay the tax in a huge number, even if that $1, everybody paying. But if we're paying the taxes together, the overall amount is huge. But when a few are paying, obviously, the overall amount will be small.
So more taxes give more spending power. They give the government an idea, okay, now we've spent on this with the taxes that we have collected, then can we focus on this? Can we take this other decision? Can we turn around about people who are facing this kind of situation, this problem? Okay. So we have to be honest, we pay our taxes, and then government can spend.
Okay, we're wrapping up now. Anything finally from you two?
Okay, so of course the manager will close it. Will close it all up. But we'd like to say thank you to the LBS family. Though we have a partnership, but always we're given the opportunity to come and speak about different issues related to the LRA. We'd like to encourage Liberians that as we move about, as we go about our daily activities, the different things we see happening, the different interventions we see from government, some of them may be huge, but we may not want to count them as is because we think that we're not doing well as a country. Last year, the entire 6 months of last year, the country ran exclusively on revenue that was collected domestically. That was a pilot phase of how much a country as Liberia can do without donor support for the first time. Okay. Last year, the entire 6 months of last year, the country ran exclusively on domestic revenue that was collected by the LRA. That was the test phase, and that is why we could have had the kind of projection we have for this year. It tells you that things are not easy. At the level of the Commissioner General and his deputies, they are ensuring that we're innovative, we're motivated, that we can do the task at hand. Therefore, for us to be successful, it depends on the honesty of our taxpayers and those who think that government must do for them before they pay taxes. You must pay taxes, then the government can have, like the manager said, the power, the strength, the financial capability to be able to meet the needs. It's not going to happen just by the snap of your fingers. but with the kind of dedicated effort we have and the kind of innovative and interesting ways of tax payment that are lined up to happen, we can only be but sure that our revenue will certainly hit the billions, and that will happen very soon. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, to pick up from where Daniel ended, we are not stopping. We are moving towards the billion. Liberia is moving, not LRA. Liberia is moving towards the billion. So we thank all of the taxpayers. LRA came into being 2014. We started 463 million. And 2021, we are talking about 571 million. And then by next year, when this year ends, we'll be talking about 800 million. So we are not stopping. We are working, and we are trying to make things easier just by the click of your keypad on your cell phone or a keyboard. You are able to sit in your bedroom and pay your taxes, and we are moving there together. Thank you.
Yeah, please, I beg you for the Makuli was saying, for God so loved the word, I beg you. Finally, we give thanks and appreciation to the Commissioner General and his team. When I joined LRA, I met something very interesting, of which I have benefited. And every LRA employee can speak to that. The LPS scheme at LRA has affected over 515 staff of LRA, putting an amount of over $1.5 million that we as employees of LRA can go to certain select businesses and take things for our personal development. That is an unimaginable form of motivation. And this is something that is being replicated across other government ministries and agencies, where employees and staff can go get building materials, go to Cimenco, get cement, go to somewhere and get household appliances, and pay over a period of 6 months. This is laudable from the LRA, and we must commend Honorable Thomas Luna and his team for the effort. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. They are all officials of the Liberia Revenue Authority. You just heard Daniel Ankara, who's the Senior Communications Officer there at the LRA. You also listened to Danicius Kaine Simwe. He's the Manager of Communications, Media, and Public Affairs there at the Liberia Revenue Authority. So that's how we end this first segment of the program. Keep listening to the bumper show, more in store. That's listening to the SMS, not the bumper show, and more in store for you here on